Good morning, everyone. I now call to order the January 12, 2023 Clackamas County Board of Commissioners meeting. Gary, would you please take the roll call?
Yes, thank you, Chair Smith. First, our staff support today, Clerk to the Board, Tony Mayernick, County Counsel, Stephen Madacor, Commissioners Schrader and Savis are out of the office today. Roll call, Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Shull.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Here, I will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We are holding this meeting in person and virtually. If you've joined us via Zoom for this meeting and are interested in providing public comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. General public comment will be taken at the usual allotted time. I would like to remind all participants, including staff, all elected officials, and members of the public, that Robert's Rules of Order will be enforced during this business meeting. We welcome your opinions and look forward to your polite participation. Gary, can you introduce the first item, please?
Yes, Chair Smith. The first item is the consent agenda. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Clackamas County Consent Agenda. Elected officials, item 1, approval of previous business meeting minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. Item 2, approval of a board order delegating signing authority to the chair and the county administrator to sign on behalf of the county and its service districts for law enforcement sensitive agreements through December 31st, 2024. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Finance, item 1, approval of a financial assistance application lifecycle form for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program through the U.S. Department of Energy. Grant request is for $329,650. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Energy. No county general funds are involved. Health, Housing, Human Services, item 1, approval of a personal services contract with Parrot Creek and Child and Family Services, Incorporated, for the Alcohol and Drug Dependency Recovery Housing Project. Contract value is $270,000 for up to 6 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of a subordination agreement with Beneficial State Bank for refinancing home loan with Wiedemann Park Apartments Affordable Housing Project. Home loan amount is $350,000, funded in 1998-1999 through a federal home loan grant. No county general funds are involved. Item 3, approval of Amendment 1 to grant agreement with Legal Aid Services of Oregon for the provision of legal services to Clackamas County residents. Amendment value is $111,779.20 for 1 year. Grant value is increased to $192,976.20 for 2 years. Funding is through the Federal Older Americans Act and Community Development Block Grant, and no county general funds are involved. Madam Chair, that concludes the list.
Thank you, Tony, very much. Commissioner West.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Does any commissioner wish to remove any item off the consent agenda?
Seconded.
No, I
we
see
don't.
none.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask the question.
I'll get it.
Okay, it's in your script. You know what? We never get everything right. I certainly don't. The motion has been made by Commissioner West to approve the consent agenda. It has been seconded by Commissioner Scholl. Any further comment? Hearing none. Tony, would you please take the poll, excuse me.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Wow, we're already at public communication.
We're moving.
Ooh-ha. Okay, this portion of the agenda shall be limited to items of county business which are properly the object of board consideration and should be nonpartisan in nature, as the BCC is a nonpartisan governing body under Oregon Revised Statutes and County Code. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes. Comments shall be respectful and courteous to all. As a reminder, you can email submissions for public communication at bcc@clackamas.us, and these will be accepted as part of the public record. I will now open the meeting for public testimony to in-person people. Nancy, if you'd like. Thank you very much. Do we have anybody, Tony, who wishes to testify in person? Sir, would you like to testify? Okay. You know, you're sitting there reading your papers so wonderfully. I thought maybe you had some. Oh, okay. Well, I welcome you both for coming today. Thank you. Tony, is there anybody on Zoom?
If you are listening on Zoom and would like to testify, please use the raise hand feature, and I will call on you in the order received. Madam Chair, at this time, I do not have any hands raised.
When was the last time that we didn't have anybody comment?
1937.
Okay, that was almost before electricity.
Apologies, Madam Chair. I do have one hand raised.
Oh,
Go ahead, please invite them in.
Mr. Weir, please state your name and area of residence. You will have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioner Bill Ware, Damascus. On January 6th last year, 2 commissioners observed the one-year anniversary of what they called an insurrection at the Washington Capitol. Each recounted the horror and fear for our democracy and what they thought they saw on that day. But they completely ignored the attempted overthrow of an election right here in this room that same January. All taxpayer paid department heads, the commission, and many other county and city officials, nonprofits that feed on county funds, and media all tried to unseat an elected commissioner. The department heads, with the county administrator bringing before the board a declaration condemning and urging immediate resignation of this commissioner. The board, led by the chair, roundly passed a censure after he refused to be herded off the commission. From the letter, I quote, "In all the power dynamics of the employees here in the county, those of us at the top of that structure have the most responsibility to raise our voice. We believe Mr. Schill should immediately resign his position," unquote. This fatuous demand is well beyond what was in their job descriptions. They're functionaries carrying out assigned duties, not to insert themselves in trying to drive a newly elected commissioner out of his hard-earned electoral victory. The question is, why bring this up now with so many pressing issues before us? Simply because the censure is still in effect. The commission's will that he immediately resign is still in effect. This censure has set a precedent and can be used at anyone deemed inconvenient to the power dynamics of the elected officials in the future. It is mean-spirited and weakens many voters' faith in the electoral system. On the commissioner's website, it states, "Working together, the board is charged with taking action in the best interest of the county and its constituents." I believe it is in the best interest to rescind and expunge this censure. Thank you.
Anyone else?
None at this time, Madam Chair.
Now's your opportunity. You don't want to say anything? Yeah. It's okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to Commissioner Communication. Commissioner West, you're up.
not much to report since our last meeting. I mean, I've been in a lot of meetings, but nothing ready to report at this moment.
That's okay.
But to be continued and soon.
That's fine.
Thank you.
You know, there's an old saying in politics, and I need to remind myself, it says, you know, they can't print what you don't say.
That's
Right?
true.
Yeah, it's very, Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
Yes, good morning, Clackamas County. Commissioner West, this is nearly the end of your second week, and I want to tell you, it is a pleasure to have you here.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much for stepping up to serve this county.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk to you, the people of Clackamas County, this morning about veteran suicide. This is a serious subject. Since 2010, 65,000 veterans have taken their own lives. That number exceeds the total killed in action in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Many of our service personnel have undergone some very difficult conditions, and PTSD is not uncommon. The Biden administration has seen this problem and is working to put forward a new national strategy to reduce veteran suicide. It's called Reducing Military and Veteran Suicide, Advancing a Comprehensive Cross-Sector Evidence-Informed Approach. And I would like to encourage families, businesses who have military personnel, be aware of the problem of suicide. And a good place to start is to visit the Clackamas County Veterans Services Department. The phone number, 503-650-5631, or on email, veterans@clackamas.us. Be aware, be helpful, and be involved so that we can reduce this very serious and very sad problem. On short-term rentals, last night I was invited to Welch's by the Hoodland Community Planning Organization to speak on short-term rentals. There were about 90 people present. It was a very lively exchange of ideas, both for the benefits of STRs and against the STR issue. And there's many good ideas on problem solving. I appreciated that. I walked away with a lot of good ideas. I'd like to thank Policy Advisor Caroline Hill for being there with me and taking notes in that highly charged meeting. Next Tuesday, Commissioner Savas and I and our policy advisors will sit down and try to look at all we have learned on short-term rentals and maybe look at some ideas for a draft ordinance for the board to consider. And finally, I'd like to share a quote with you in this busy world of ours. Putting things off is the biggest waste of life. It snatches away each day as it comes and denies us the present by promising the future. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. That's a quote from Lucius Annaeus Seneca, 49 AD, from his essay on the shortness of life. And thank you very much, Clackamas County, for your attention this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner Scholl. It's been a busy week as we enter January, in addition to all the regular business that we do. On Monday, I was able to host 2 meetings on Project Turnkey. One was at noon with the North Clackamas County Chamber of Commerce. It was very well attended, about 48 people. And then that evening, we had a Sunnyside CPO meeting where also people from the community, businesses as well, came forward. It was a really good opportunity. It was to educate and find out what the concerns are and then talk about it. And we have a whole list of questions. Staff commissioners have prepared some good ancillary information on it based on some of the questions that came forward. And we're prepared to answer those when the time is right. And I think they're being posted online. This morning, I testified in front of the Oregon Transportation Commission in Salem on tolling and the inequities and what ODOT is doing, not being transparent, and at the very least, not being fair. They're already starting to build what they call a behind-the-scenes office and all the infrastructure for the little tolling, what do they call them?
Gantries.
Thank you. Gantries is such a strange name to me. These guys will keep me straight on that. Gantries at $100 million, and they haven't even gone out to the public or even this government to find out what it's about. So, and they've already admitted, for instance, that tolling is not enough to pay for the improvements they want to make on the Abernathy Bridge and widening I-205 at Stafford. because of the high cost of tolling. And there was a whole list of items that I went through. The good that came out of that was Chair Bob Van Broeklen says, Chair Smith, I want to thank you for bringing these forward. As a matter of fact, we plan on addressing some of your concerns later on in this meeting. Of course, I had to leave to come to here, and he says it's very important that we reach out to our local governments because we want to be successful. We will see what happens after that. Later this afternoon, we will be touring the brand-new Oregon Liquor Control Commission site where they plan to build a new headquarters in the Canby Pioneer Industrial Center. The legislators will be there, so it'll be a good time for the legislators to meet county commissioners, and because there's many of them that I don't know, that I haven't met yet because of the high turnover. Last night, I attended the Clackamas County Fair Board meeting. It was just really interesting. It's such a good group of people. And their new executive director, well, he's not new now, it'll be almost a year, gave us updates on all the activities they're having. For instance, they have a Canby Haunt, that's a Halloween festival they have out there. Next year, they think they can double the revenue on it because they're redoing things. Now, the nice thing about this new executive director, he says for 1 year, I'm going to continue to run the programs and see how they do because they just came out of COVID. And people's habits have totally changed since then. He says, we're going to run it and see how it works. So he ran the Canby Haunt, as they call it. He says, you know what? I think we can double our revenue for next year if we do these things and these things and these things. They have the Winter Fair, and that is an upward trend. The very last weekend, they had 2,000 people attend. It's a really nice light show, and I believe there's a place to buy Christmas crafts and such. But the ice storm hit, and they did not realize revenues, I think, for 3 days, and that did hurt them. They're having a Canby Brew Fest on Mother's Day weekend. On Friday and Saturday, over 90 taps will be available, and that's a fundraiser for their Fair Foundation. They're going to have a band on Friday night and Saturday night. You might want to attend that. They also have what they call a paint and plaster event. It's paint and a wine night, so they call it paint and plaster. It's a working name. 3 times a year as a fundraiser to help them go forward. I gave my report because this board had reappointed 2 Fair Board members, Matt Bunch and Lauren Humphreys. Last night, they also had elections of their officers. And longtime President Gary Litton did not come back as president. Instead, Matt Bunch was elected as president. Lauren Humphreys moved up to vice president, and Raylene Kmeyer will remain as secretary. But I really enjoy this. They gave a report on the status of the Fair Barn. Right now, they're waiting on a traffic study from the city of Canby. And they were kind of concerned they'd have to wait till summer because of the heavy traffic volume. But I think they're working on it. And they're a little bit frustrated because of the permitting process, of course, with the city of Canby. And our staff, who is assisting them, is also very busy working on projects, but we're going forward. Unfortunately, that particular cost has increased as well, and they're planning on fundraising. They have revamped their foundation, which is very good. They have some new members at the head of that, and they have ideas to go forward to continue to raise monies for that. So I'm very positive, and told the Fair Board that it was a lot of fun being there last night. It was one of the highlights of my week, and I really meant it. And you've been there, too. It's great people.
They're great people.
Yeah, and any commissioner can come to the Fair Board with me, yeah. It just happens to be what I do. Are there any other comments from anybody? Gary? Anything for the good of the order?
No, Chair.
Commissioner West?
I was just thinking about if I could convince my mom to go to the Beer Garden Festival on Mother's Day. It might be a strong ask, but it sounds like fun.
So Friday night, there's a local band that does 70s music.
Okay.
And then Saturday night, there's a local band that does 80s, and I can't remember the names of the band, but they're kind of well-known locally. So you have your choice.
Maybe we can get her out there.
Yeah,
But it's not about me, it's about Mom, I get it.
I know. There's, what are they going to have, in addition to the 90 brews? And by the way, they're trying to get all those 90 brews donated.
Oh,
Yeah, so all the proceeds can go to the foundation.
what's their foundation?
It's
Do you
called the
remember?
Fair Board Foundation, the Canby Fair Foundation.
Do they give the local
It's
council?
additionally to what, it's aside from what their normal revenue-making ability is.
Okay,
And I think they want to use the Fair Board Foundation to raise money to help pay for improvements on the grounds, finish the construction of the multipurpose facility.
okay, nice.
Yes, well,
Thanks
thank you.
for sharing that.
Oh, you
Chairman
bet.
Smith,
Yes.
one more comment. I'd like to remind everybody that next Monday is a holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
You know, I'd forgotten
And-
that, thank you.
And I mentioned that because, I was a young boy when Martin Luther King Jr. was making an impact on American society. I always have admired him and his memory, and I encourage people of this county to sit down and give some thought to the good things that Martin Luther King Jr. did for America. Thank you.
That's very timely and poignant. Thank you, Commissioner Shaw, for remembering that. See no further discussion before this board. We are adjourned.